ザ・スタンリー・パラベルやってまいりましたね。これもっていうか、ある人が実況を撮ってて、そのねパート1を見てね、なんか面白そうだなと思って、いつかね実況を撮ってみたいなと思って寝かしておきました。またスチームさんですよなんでもスチーム。右下のパソコンとなんかリンクしてる。うわすごい。うわいいな、こういうの無駄になんかこう動かしたくなんだろう、ザ・スタンリー・パラブル、スタンリーさんのなんだろう、これなんか翻訳したら例え話とか、だから例えばみたいな、そういうことだよね。なんかいろんな選択肢があってっていうブレイン、まあやっていきましょう。多分見たことある人が大多数だと思うんで、早速やっていきましょう。
This is the story of a man named Stanley. Stanley worked for a company in a big building where he was employee number 427. Employee number 427's job was simple. He sat at his desk in room 427 and he pushed buttons on a keyboard. Orders came to him through a monitor on his desk, telling him what buttons to push, how long to push them, and in what order. This is what employee 427 did every day, every month of every year. And although others might have considered it soul-crushing, Stanley relished every moment that the orders came in, as though he had been made exactly for this job. And Stanley was happy. And then one day, something very peculiar happened. Something that would forever change Stanley. Something he would never quite forget. He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one single order had arrived on the monitor for him to follow. No one had showed up to give him instructions, call a meeting, or even say hi. Never in all his years at the company had this happened, this complete isolation. Something was very clearly wrong. Shocked, frozen solid, Stanley found himself unable to move for the longest time. But as he came to his wits and regained his senses, he got up from his desk and stepped out of his office.
始まってた全然わかんなかった今。時間は別に現在とリンクしてるわけじゃない。動かせますね。こんなんだったっけか。なんかパート1見たらこんな感じだ。まあ全然覚えてないんですけど、結構前だから。一応しゃがめるけど、まあ行きますか。誰かいるかな。誰もいない。
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
もしかしたらみんな実は今日は休業日ですよみたいな、誰もいませんよっていう、誰もいないね。本当に誰もいないね。でもちょっと散らかりすぎじゃないかな。昼前、こっちでいいのかな、会議室は。
When Stanley came to a set of two open doors, he entered the door on his left.
入りましたってまだなんで過去形なんだよ。これあれでしょ、この右に行くとなんか変なこと言われる系だったような。ちょっと入ってみて。
This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it.
そういうことそう、休憩室に行きたかった。ほんと誰もいないな。怖いな。でもホラーじゃないよねこれ。
Yes, truly a room worth admiring. It had really been worth the detour after all, just to spend a few moments here in this immaculate, beautifully constructed room. Stanley simply stood here, drinking it all in.
こっちもあるね。
Yes, really, really worth it being here in the room. A room so utterly captivating that even though all your co-workers have mysteriously vanished, here you sit looking at these chairs and some paintings. Really worth it.
Cold drinks.
At this point, Stanley's obsession with this room bordered on creepy and reflected poorly on his overall personality. It's possible that this is why everyone left. But at last, he'd had enough of the amazing room and took the first open door on his left to get back to business.
何これ？こっち？どっち？お、お。
Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago.
確かにちょっとね、反抗的な感じあるけど。え、閉まった？おい。え。まあいいや、行こう。おお。Do not jump.
Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all this time. There's someone you've been neglecting, Stanley. Someone you've forgotten.
何でもかんでも自分一人で決めようとし
Stop
な
trying
い
to
で
make every decision
待
by
って、
yourself.
俺は俺だ
Now,
から。
I'm not asking for me,
彼女
I'm
の
asking for
え、どう
her.
いうこと？彼女
This
が
is
い
it,
る。
Stanley. Your chance to redeem yourself. To put your work aside. To let her back into your life.
教えてくだ
She's
さい。
been waiting.
彼女は待っていました。この勝手に閉まんのほんと嫌なんだけど。あ、びっくりした。自動ドア。暗いんだけど。おお。あ、ビビった。
That's her, Stanley. You need to be the one to do this. To reach out to her. If you can truly place your faith in another.
取りましたよ。あれ？え？
Oh, Stanley, is that you? Hold on, sweetie. Sorry to keep you waiting. I'm just pulling the bread out of the
動かせら
oven.
れない。
All right. Okay, there we go. All right, now, I want you to come in and tell me all about your day.
びっくりした。
Gotcha. Oh, come
ちょっと
on.
待って、ちょっと待って
Did。you actually think you had a loving wife?
なんで急に
They want
笑
to
ったん
commit
だ。
their life to you. I'm trying to make a point here, Stanley. I'm trying to get you to see something. Come inside. Let me show you what's really going on here.
おうおう。
This is a very sad story about the death of a man named Stanley.
T?
Stanley is quite a boring fellow. He has a job that demands nothing of him, and every button that he pushes is a reminder of the inconsequential nature of his existence.
くっそ、な
Look
ん
at
か
him there,
指示され
pushing
てる。
buttons, doing exactly what he's told to do. Now he's pushing a button. Now he's eating lunch. Now he's going home. Now he's coming back to work. One might even feel sorry for him, except that he's chosen this life.
くっそ、なんか指示され
But
て
in
る
his
の。
mind,
すごい
in
ね。
his mind, he can go on fantastic adventures. From behind his desk, Stanley dreamed of wild expeditions into the unknown, fantastic discoveries of new lands. It was wonderful. And each day that he returned to work was a reminder that none of it would ever happen to him.
L?
And so he began to fantasize about his own job. First, he imagined that one day while at work, he stepped up from his desk to realize that all of his co-workers, his boss, everyone in the building had suddenly vanished off the face of the earth. The thought excited him terribly. So he went further. He imagined that he came to 2 open doors and that he could go through either. At last, choice. It barely even mattered what lay behind each door. The mere thought that his decisions would mean something was almost too wonderful to behold. As he wandered through this fantasy world, he began to fill it with many possible paths and destinations. Down one path lay an enormous round room with monitors and mind controls. And down another was a yellow line that weaved in many directions. And down another was a game with a baby. And he called it The Stanley Parable. It was such a wonderful fantasy, and so in his head he relived it again, and then again, and again, over and over, wishing beyond hope that it would never end, that he might always feel this free. Surely there's an answer down some new path, mustn't there be? Perhaps if he played just one more time. But there is no answer. How could there possibly be? In reality, all he's doing is pushing the same buttons he always has. Nothing has changed. The longer he spends here, the more invested he gets, the more he forgets which life is the real one. And I'm trying to tell him this, that in this world he can never be anything but an observer, that as long as he remains here, he's slowly killing himself. But he won't listen to me. He won't stop. Here, watch this. Stanley, the next time the screen asks you to push a button, do not do it. You see? Can he just not hear me? How can I tell him in a way that he'll understand that every second he remains here, he's electing to kill himself? How can I get him to see what I see? How can I make him look at himself? I suppose I can't, not in the way I want him to. But I don't make the rules. I simply play to my intended purpose, the same as Stanley. We're not so different, I suppose. I'll try once more to convey all this to him. I'm compelled to. I must. Perhaps, well, maybe this time he'll see. Maybe this time. And I tried again, and Stanley pushed a button. And I tried again, and Stanley pushed a button. And I tried...
おお、なんだったんだよこれ。一番最初だよこれこんな濃いの？こんなルートだったっけ？ちょっとちょっとよくわかんないけど、ちょっとねこのままもう一回行ってみようかな。
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
もう一回ね別のルート行ってからちょっと終わろうかな。何もないよね。なんかこれが重要とか。おお。つけたり消したりできる。インプット。こういうのつけられるわけじゃない。誰もいないんだよ本当に。怖いね。誰かいる？誰もいない。
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
じゃあ今度左入ってみようか。普通にね、言われたままにね。誰もいない。開かない。なんか書いてあるね。
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there.
ミーティングルーム。なんかいろいろ書いてあるけど全然読めない。読みたいなこういうの。でもなんか会議してたっぽいね、名残っていうか、なんかそんな面影があるけど。これなんだ？ うわすごい。このさ勝手に閉まるドアが意外と怖い。これどっち？
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
途中開くわけじゃない。おお、いきなし全然違ってくるんだけど、どっち行けばいいんだろう。これなんだろう。バスルームなんだろう。なんかさ、ここ一瞬バツって見えるんだけど、模様かな。ここか。誰もいないよ本当に。
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life.
すごいでかい。あ、
Shocked,
これ。
unraveled, Stanley wondered in disbelief who orchestrated this, what dark secret was being held from him. What he could not have known was that the keypad behind the boss's desk guarded the terrible truth that his boss had been keeping from him. And so the boss had assigned it an extra secret PIN number, 2845. But of course, Stanley couldn't possibly have known this.
そうだよな、うん、これなんかスタンリー・パラブルのアイコンになってたこの真ん中のこのネクタイのやつ、これなんか重要なのかな。なんか書いてあるけど見えない。
Stanley just sat around twiddling his thumbs. Trying to input anything on the device was useless, since he could never possibly know that the combination was 2845.
うんうん、すごいねこれ。
2845.
ちょっと待ってちょっと待って、分かったからちょっと待ってくださいね。いろいろ見させて。あ、なんか2845でしょ。分かった分かった。
But it turns out that the panel's emergency override kicked in, and the door just opened all by itself. And Stanley got the hell along with the story. Well, whoop-de-doo.
あらあら開いちゃったよもう。え、ここに書いてある？うん、ないよね。このカバン？うん。2845。開いた？遅かった遅かった。まあいいや、行こう。あ、なんかでもちょっと怖い。うわ、大丈夫なのこれ。怖い。なんか真実が分かって、もうこれパート1で真実分かっちゃうのこれ。そんなわけないよね。こっちでいいの？あれ？
Descending deeper into the building, Stanley realized he felt a bit peculiar. It was a stirring of emotion in his chest, as though he felt more free to think for himself, to question the nature of his job. Why did he feel this now, when for years it had never occurred to him? This question would not go unanswered for long. Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility.
マインドコントロールされてたってこと？ちょっと待って。このエスケープってこれどっちだ？いや、とりあえず最初はこっち行くか。マインドコントロールファクトリー？違うな。ファクトリー？違うな。わかんない。あ、見えてる。うわ、怖い。
The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley thought to himself. Did he have the strength to find out?
あ、こっち行くと何があるんだろう。特にこれか。監視カメラ？
Now the monitors jumped to life, their true nature revealed. Each bore the number of an employee in the building, Stanley's co-workers. the lives of so many individuals reduced to images on a screen, and Stanley, one of them, eternally monitored in this place where freedom meant nothing.
うわ、何このなんかマトリックスみたい。実は僕が何番目の救世主ですみたいな。そういう感じ？ほらほら。ああ、死にな死にな死にな。これだ。俺もここだったんだ。これだ。そうだったのか。何そんな深いの？あ、なんだこのあれ？なんかちょっとバグってるやつがね。234番。なんかあれ重要なのかな。なんか他にもあった今。ほらほらほら。やっぱあそこだけちょっとおかしいよ。234番。あれ ?234 番。234ってちょっとあとメモっとくか。もう一回。234、あれあった。あ !104! なんかあんの？まあいいや。ちょっと行こう。何これ
？This mind control facility, it was too horrible to believe. It couldn't be true. Had Stanley really been under someone's control all this time? Was this the only reason he was happy with his boring job? That his emotions had been manipulated to accept it blindly? No, he refused to believe it. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control? Never! It was unthinkable. Wasn't it? Was it even possible? Had he truly spent his entire life utterly blind to the world? But here was the proof. The heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions. Happy, or sad, or content. Walking, eating, working. All of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life. For he would dismantle the controls once and for all.
Mind control. うわー、何ここもう確信に迫っちゃったパート1でシステムパワーオフオン
Oh, Stanley, you didn't just activate the controls, did you? After they kept you enslaved all these years, you go and you try to take control of the machine for yourself. Is that what you wanted? Control? Oh, Stanley, I applaud your effort, I really do. But you need to understand, there's only so much that machine can do. You were supposed to let it go, turn the controls off, and leave. If you want to throw my story off track, you're going to have to do much better than that. I'm afraid you don't have nearly the power you think you do. For example, and I believe you'll find this pertinent, Stanley suddenly realized he had just initiated the network's emergency detonation system. In the event that this machine is activated without proper DNA identification, nuclear detonators are set to explode, eliminating the entire complex. How long until detonation then? Let's say 2 minutes. Now this is making things a little more fun, isn't it, Stanley? It's your time to shine. You are the star. It's your story now. Shape it to your heart's desires. Oh, this is much better than what I had in mind. What a shame we have so little time left to enjoy it. Mere moments until the bomb goes off. But what precious moments each one of them is. More time to talk about you, about me, where we're going, what all this means. I barely know where to start. What's that? You'd like to know where your co-workers are? A moment of solace before you're obliterated.
わかんない。違う。あれ違う。なんかこれ暗号かな。全然何の手がかりもないよ。
I turned off the machine. I set you free. Of course, that was merely in this instance of the story. Sometimes... of the clock strike. That's 30 seconds you have left to struggle.
あーちょっとやばい
30 seconds
やばい
until
や
the
ばい
big
あと
boom
やばい
begins.
25
No
20
ending. Just you being blown to
19やばいやばいやばい
Will you
全然
cling
わかんない
desperately to your
やばい
fall
やばい
life? Or will you let it go peacefully?
やばいやばいあ逃げれ
Another
る
choice. Make it count. Or
そう
death.
あー
It's
違う
all
違う
the
違う
same
違うよ
to me, all a part of the
あれ
journey.
5番あ
And
る
believe me, I
あー
will
全
be
然わかんない
laughing at every second of your inevitable life from the
出
moment
た
we
し目
fade
で
in until the moment I say,
やっ
happily ever up.
はい全然わかんなかったあまりにもなんかはいはいはいはい進みすぎたのかななんか今度はもうちょっとなんか反抗していこうかないろいろ試してでなんか詰まったらなんか攻略ウィキとか見ながらやっていった方がいいのかなこういうのはなんかヒントとかもなさそうだもんなここをしなさいとかっていうしかもなんか無限ループでしょこれでもなんかちょっと面白かったまあパート1はこんな感じで終わりたいと思いますいやーすごいねまあ時間も進んでないねやっぱりまあいいや今回はね終わりたいと思いますでは